Hey, everybody, welcome to Eggs. I'm Ryan, he's Mike, as always, and we're here today with special guest Kelly McCausey. Tell me if I'm screwing up your name.
Yeah.
Kelly is a person, she's based out in the Midwest, out in Michigan. She's a business owner, she's a mom, she's an entrepreneur, and an all-around interesting person. So we're really excited to talk to her. She's joining us live now from Michigan, so here she is. Everybody say hi to Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, how's it going?
Great. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
So good. Thank you. And welcome to the show. We're awful glad to have you. If you don't mind, let's start with just a little bit of background on who you are, where you're from, all that kind of stuff, and why you're here today.
Yeah, I heard you started your first website in 2002 or 3.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm born and raised here in Michigan. I have lived most of my life within about 10 minutes from where I was born. I did live up in northern Michigan, like way up here, for about 13 years. The snow got to me. I came back to southern Michigan.
Yeah, we live, where the show's located here in Salt Lake City, and we're known for our snow here, and I don't like to be known for snow. I would much prefer to be known for a great beach or something.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm actually getting ready to snowbird. I leave on Monday to spend close to 6 weeks in Pensacola.
Down in Florida?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, and I think I read, and maybe this is jumping too far ahead too fast, but I think I read that this is for a beachpreneur event.
Yes.
Is that right? I don't know if you can quickly say that without giving us all the backstory first or talk about it, but either way, we should circle around and discuss that.
Well, so it's a teaser to like the beautiful end of the story because of beachpreneurs, I get to spend time on beautiful beaches with smart women leaning into, building an awesome business in life. And it's all a business expense.
Sounds like my job. I've been a DJ for a long time, and I write off equipment. I write off trips.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Yeah. So that's the beautiful end of the story. The beginning of the story, back in 2002, I was a divorced single mom, and I couldn't pay my bills. I was working full time, but it didn't pay very well. And I think in a period of 6 months, every single thing that could get shut off got shut off at one time or another. And so I went online looking to make some extra money. I just needed like $200 a month so that things would stop getting turned off. And it just opened up doors that changed my life completely.
So what did you find? Where were you when you went online to look for that extra $200 a month? What did you do initially to kind of start generating that?
So I had built a website for myself to try to market some desktop publishing services, mostly locally. But I never did get any clients for that. But I had a lot of people say, hey, could you make me a website like that? And in the process of working with a few different people, I came into the work-at-home mom community. Do you remember Yahoo groups?
Yeah.
Like back in the day, there were big Yahoo groups, and there were private forums and communities of work-at-home moms. And so work-at-home moms were hiring me to create graphics for them or set up their website for them. And as I would work with them, I would learn about all of the different ways that moms were making extra money at home. And I got really curious about it. I ended up starting an internet radio show for work-at-home moms. That's what I launched in November of 2003.
Interesting. So this was pre-podcasting days.
Yes. I had that show.
Joe Rogans of our time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I had that show going for 6 months before podcasting caught my attention, and then boom, it was a podcast like the same day.
So how did you, when you started it, did you go into a radio station and hire the station, or did you do it out of your house, or what did you do initially?
Out of my house. Everything was so interesting because I did live in northern Michigan. We didn't have any DSL at my house. I lived too far out in the country. So I basically had dial-up internet.
AOL online.
I recorded my podcasts on actual telephones.
Okay.
I had a tap. I started out with a really cheap, like $30 Radio Shack
The
phone
Radio
tap.
Shack kind of, yeah.
It sucks. I ended up upgrading into I bought a little USB mixer and a little powered phone tap, audio tap but I was actually on a telephone, a LAN telephone line, recording those conversations for those first years. And then I would edit it together myself and upload it. But the funniest thing about the uploading is my internet speed was so slow. I would literally have to start the upload before I went to bed and pray that I didn't lose the internet connection overnight.
Because you'd have to start it over again. If you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Where were you uploading it to? What site were you using?
At the time, it was called live365.com was a popular live streaming service. And, these days there are podcasting classes around every corner. But back then, there was nobody offering to show you how to start an internet radio show. There was like this one guy that wanted like $2,000 to teach you how to be famous on the internet.
That's a good marketing play.
Yeah. I learned from basement radio DJs.
Okay.
Like guys who were running little indie radio shows out of their homes. I learned from them how to get my show started.
How did you get in contact with them?
Found them on Yahoo groups and forums. It's so funny because here I am. I'm this mom who knows nothing. Like I don't know any of the terminology. And so I'm going and saying, how do you start an internet radio show? And they're like, you're already an idiot. So we don't want to talk to you. And so I would just had to like throw myself at their mercy and say, listen, just pretend like I'm your mom. Be nice. And they just had to teach me like this, you need a streaming server. You need to know this about the format of audios that you're developing. So they just took me by the hand and were patient.
Well, and it was infinitely more complicated back then too. I mean, things are so much easier now. The technology's caught up with all that.
Yeah.
Would you say though, Kelly, are you sort of naturally entrepreneurial, or did this sort of come out of necessity entirely, or have you, like, as a youth and as you're, coming up, have you always been kind of a self-starter or a person who's out there trying to solve the problems?
I think I'd say yes to entrepreneurial because I did run a home daycare for 8 years before this.
Oh, okay. So you've been doing some form of business. Now,
yeah.
This is a little bit different, and it'll actually be interesting to talk to you about the transition, right? There's the version of you maybe behind the counter, but now you're the star, like pushing yourself out front. So I'm sure that was a bit of a transition too. It's a different, it seems like it would be a different personality type altogether.
Yeah. I would say, yes, I was entrepreneurial, but I had a really small mindset about it back then. Like, does it make any sense to say, like, I just knew I could pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, that was the thing, right? You were trying to solve the immediate problem, which was getting the lights back on.
Yeah.
And, out of necessity, I guess. And then the long term, or the upshot of having put all that, I guess, groundwork down sort of led to something that is now a sustainable life and a career.
Yes. Yeah.
So did the podcast facilitate the website, or did the website facilitate the podcast? So what came first, the chicken or the egg?
So I was doing my design stuff, making my little money on the side, and I started Work at Home Moms Talk Radio as a website with a button you could click to push play and listen to the show. And so that was November of 2003, the podcast started to draw a community to me. And I was really blessed. I had a good friend in the work at home mom space that sponsored my show, like paid for the streaming costs.
Oh, nice.
And she had a forum, and we would get together and talk there with other work at home moms. And an interesting thing happened. This is what I didn't expect. I thought, I'm going to satisfy my own curiosity and interview these work at home moms, and people are going to listen, and it's going to be awesome. But as they listened to me interview, they started to ask me questions. And I kept saying, no, they're the smart people.
I want to learn from you.
I'm just here asking questions. But I drew such a community to me they had respect for my opinions, for what I was creating. And my friend Alice Seba was the gal who sponsored the show. In the summer of 2004, we launched a paid membership site because she recognized that the work at home mom community craved like a next level learning experience where they could get information on websites and traffic, building a mailing list, making money, and leave aside all the extra nonsense that community tends to be full of.
Yeah.
The business apps.
Yeah.
The scams.
No, it's really interesting. Like out here in Utah specifically, and maybe it's bigger than Utah. I only have sort of tangential knowledge of it, but it's the work at home movement here is sort of the scrapbooker movement out here. And so there are a lot of crafty folk that, are often the stay at home or the work at home mothers, but they're spending a lot of time doing the scrapbooking. And so their community has massive power and massive influence too. And it's not unlike what you're doing with the stay at home or the work at home mothers.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool and interesting. Did you specifically target to find those kinds of people, or did they just happen to resonate with the I guess you were probably living a similar lifestyle and you were, so it worked for them. But like, were you actively soliciting people in that world to come be a part of your life? And I guess maybe kind of in the way you were reaching out to guests and things.
Yeah. Well,
if you can elaborate on that, that'd be awesome.
So there's so much garbage in the work at home mom space that I was very selective about who I wanted to have on my show. I interviewed people who were making some kind of a business work. Sometimes I would have somebody on who was part of a direct sales business if I had respect for the direct sales business. So I was curating. I mean, that's what a podcast is. You guys are curating conversations.
Yeah.
I was curating, and so I was drawing a community to me who wanted that kind of information.
Oh, okay. So just sort of, it was what you were going for, but it also was sort of, I guess, self-perpetuating. You were looking for information yourself, and they were looking to it from you, and it sort of became this circular thing.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
I considered myself a curious enthusiast.
Oh, I like that.
Some people think like I'll start a blog and a podcast once I'm an expert. And I just say, forget that. Start now. Share your curious enthusiasm.
Because you're so right. But what's interesting is like that sounds like really modern vernacular, or like a modern attitude about going out, putting yourself out there and just saying what you know. At the time you started this radio show, though, I don't know that you would have had as many people at your back, like pushing you and saying, yes, of course, go out and do this. I think a lot of people did fall victim to that sort of mentality that they are, must wait until they were great at something before they went out and started talking about it. I think showing the vulnerability feels like a much more modern attitude.
Well, it's also good to show the vulnerability and show that you might not know what you're talking about than to try and play it off like you do, and then have the actual people that do know what you're talking about kind of call you out on it. It's better to go in and say, hey, I'm truly just curious on learning about what you do and how I can facilitate, my business and learn from what you do and kind of implement it in what I do and kind of grow and help each other out. It's better to approach it that way, in my opinion.
Well, and of course, as you go, you do become expert.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of, again, self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
So, So you've got the show going, you've got the website going. What was the website? Was it just a subscription based website,
Yeah.
or were you selling a physical product, or just access to the
No,
content?
no physical products. Alice and I launched Mom Masterminds. It was a monthly membership that gave you access to a private forum. We released trainings every month, and we answered questions on the private forum. So it was all virtual, all digital.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Well, that also feels pretty cutting edge, for the time as well. Like you were starting these membership sites before they were a dime a dozen.
Yes.
Nowadays we have the lynda.coms and the plural
Yeah.
sites and all these guys that are out there publishing tutorials and how-tos. But
Yeah.
you were doing this at a time that it wasn't kind of a popular format or a well-known format.
So Alice Seba, my project partner with that, was very forward thinking. She was going to many of the big online marketing events, seeing what the big dogs were up to. And then she would come back and say, I think this would work if we can just make it valuable to the moms. I was the first work at home mom podcast ever. We were the first work at home mom focused paid membership. And when we launched it, there were people who just laughed and said, you guys are going to fail so bad. Work at home moms are too frugal. They'll never pay for a membership site. And, a few months later, we're just like, we'd like to fail like this more often.
Right.
It was pretty great.
So what was your initial site? Was it WordPress with like a kind of paywall built in, or how did you, a lot of the tech guys around here talk about the minimum viable product, and I'm guessing that your first site was bootstrapped to the core.
Well, so we didn't have WordPress then. We were using a content management system called Xoops. XOOPS.
I think I remember.
Oh wow!
Back at the time, we were looking at Joomla, Drupal.
Yeah, I've heard of Joomla and Drupal. I don't remember Xoops though.
Xoops was ugly. It was an ugly beast, but it tied into the affiliate program that we wanted to use and the forum program that we wanted to use. So it was cobbled together with PHP BB for the forum.
Okay, I remember that.
The Xoops for the content management system, iDev affiliate for the affiliate program, and A member for the actual membership.
Wow. So did you have someone that set that up for you? Did you figure it out on your own?
We had another work at home mom, Lynette Chandler, who was very geeky, and we actually brought her on as a partial partner to say, we'll share profits with you if you'll help us get this set up. And she threw herself into it. We never could have done it without her.
Interesting.
It's awesome how that works, and I mean, I guess you were already working a little bit in the web development space and doing some websites and things like that for people in the first place. So at least you weren't completely foreign to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it is important, the importance of sort of collaboration to make that stuff happen. And again, especially at a time when you were doing all this, because it wasn't the thing back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't as easy to accomplish as it is nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I remember trying to set up one of those PHP kind of scripts and just fiddling around with it, and just the learning curve on getting something like that going is intense, and being able to pull it off, props to you guys.
So. Yeah. So Kelly, let's talk a little bit about basically the where you are now versus, kind of what this journey was like. So you obviously were kind of a trendsetter or a little ahead of the curve on a couple of these platforms, and that probably aided in helping you to find some success. You also found a really strong network of people to surround yourself with by way of these work at home moms, stay at home moms, and other people interested in learning business methodologies and things like that, how to make money at home. How did you, I guess, take this nugget of an idea, evolve that into something, and how did we get to where we are today?
So Mom Masterminds was a partnership with Alice until 2006, and she decided to leave the mom community and stretch her wings into some other niches. I took over Mom Masterminds and ran it on my own, together with Lynette. Lynette continued to be a tech partner always. So, well, my son grew up, they do that.
Yeah, they have a knack for that.
He turned 18, he moved out of the house, and in the next year, I was really starting to realize that Work at Home Moms Talk Radio and Mom Masterminds just wasn't a good brand for me anymore. I was starting to travel. I could not speak and live in the day-to-day work at home mom space. So I went through some rebranding, which ultimately led to my brand today, which is Love People and Make Money.
Right.
When I rebranded, it was really only about making a shift in target market, because I didn't really change my message. My message has always remained the same, that a business can be built strategically so that it doesn't overtake your life. That was really important to work at home moms. And it's really important to a lot of people who have an interest in building a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Anybody could just work 80 hours a week and make a lot of money.
You nailed it. And that's me, but I don't make a lot of money.
So, Mom Masterminds, running the membership site was great. It was very profitable. When you have hundreds of members giving you $50 a month, it just makes you smile.
Yeah, sure.
But a membership has natural attrition, and a membership has a natural life. So I started to sell individual information products and run other short-term coaching programs. I did eventually start to offer private coaching. I really resisted that for a long time. But when enough people ask you if you'll help them, you finally say yes. One of the things I'm so grateful from Alice was to really embrace affiliate marketing, because everything that someone needs to build their business has an affiliate program attached, whether it's the web hosting, the email marketing tools that they're using, those, if you're recommending and teaching people how to build a business, there's just so many different affiliate things that you can recommend, and that creates recurring profits.
Interesting.
And because I focused on that early, I have been able to see a consistent percentage of my income come from those affiliate checks.
Okay.
Basically.
Well, so can you talk a little bit about where do you think others trying to develop a community, other community creators, where do you think they're being misled or doing the wrong thing?
Okay. So these days, if you join a Facebook group, that's where most people are building their communities these days. When we built our communities, we built them on our own websites. But these days, it is really hard to get people to come congregate
in another site
somewhere else. I even gave up 2 years ago and moved my community to Facebook.
Yeah, you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yep. I still wish we were doing it back at my house, but it takes 2 seconds to set up a Facebook group. And so a lot of people do. They say, oh, community is important, I'm going to go start a Facebook group. But then they treat it like their page, and they broadcast at people. They talk
asking questions and trying to get input from the people in the group. They're trying to promote their agenda 100% of the time.
A community is not you preaching to a congregation. A community is they're interacting. And honestly, I think that's something I can't say that it was strategic when we started Mom Masterminds. Even though we were the quote owners and leaders, we always welcomed and fostered communication and cooperation between the members, and we never got all wrapped up in having to be right.
Well, and that's the thing. I think there's actually just a little teeny nuance there that I think is probably the difference between the, real people, the people who are getting into it for the right reasons versus the people who are just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly what you said. I think it's, yes, you might be the one that was the organizer and you're the one that put this community together, but you're not the one that makes the community work necessarily.
Right.
You might be the center stone or the peg in the middle, but everybody could interact and work around
Totally.
you. And so I think that for a lot of people, I think social media especially has given everybody this indication that business is quick and easy and you can run out and build a network overnight and all these people will buy your product. And I think there's a lot of sort of narcissism or ego built into that where we're just thinking, oh, well, we're pretty special. Everybody will come and listen to us. They're going to love it.
Yeah.
And in reality, the communities that work are the ones where we all have a common interest and we are all here talking together. And it has very little to do with the person who actually started it. Now, you might be the one offering the products and it may roll down to you, but the healthy, strong community is actually built around that common interest more than it is around you or your product, generally speaking. I suppose there's a celebrity version of this that's different or whatever, but generally speaking, that makes sense to me anyway.
So there are people who talk to me and say, hey, I got this Facebook group and I just can't get any engagement. And what they mean is that they're not getting liked and they're not getting agreed with. They start the group, they share stuff, and they basically just want everyone to go, yes, amen, woohoo, true, I like it, you're so smart.
Where do I put my credit card number?
Right.
The thing, might shock some people, but when you come into my community, whether that's my Facebook group or my mailing list, or you're listening to my podcast, or you're coming to one of my events, I don't care if you ever spend money with me. I don't care. If I have something of service, wahoo. But if I don't, if we're just two entrepreneurs who freaking love what we do, we're going to be friends.
Well, and I think that's ultimately the core of developing a relationship, period, whether it's with another human being or your whole network. I mean, ultimately, if you go into it with an ask or you demand something of people, they're going to have some resistance. They're going to feel a little weird about it, whatever it is. I mean, if you're trying to craft a relationship with a boyfriend or a coworker or a whatever, I mean, it's, of course, you don't go into them demanding something. You go into them trying to foster mutual belief or mutual whatever.
Yeah.
And so that makes, it makes perfect sense. And I think that nowadays, especially like you said, it's so easy to make a Facebook group or so easy, like there's no real skin in the game. And there's not a lot of people doing the long version or the long game. Everybody's looking for this short, instant gratification. They didn't start 15 years ago like you did doing this kind of thing,
Yeah.
And I think that having that longer view where you don't have or anticipate or require something from somebody else at the jump, if you publish good content and they would like to pay you for it, that's fine and great. But to go into it saying, well, you want to be part of this group, it's going to cost you, bud. It's probably a different, it's nuanced, but I think there's a difference there.
How do you go from someone on the group to being like you offer the consultations and you sell what are they, the little learning packets that you sell? How do you kind of stay off the people that are just trying to be in your ear all the time and not really paying you for the time that you're investing in them? Do you actually kind of have the conversation with them like, yeah, I can consult with you, but it costs X amount of dollars for X amount of time? Or do you just kind of be nice to everyone and hope that some of them will actually pay you for the time that you spend on them?
Yeah. So I have really good boundaries about my Facebook community. I did about the membership when my entire membership was paid. Like that was really the only way you could spend time with me in a group was to be a paid member. I had boundaries of knowing so if you come into my Facebook group and you ask me a question that is only of value to you and it would take a lot of time for me to respond, I'm just not gonna.
So do you send a
I'm gonna.
reply and say, "Hey, this is something
No, the
that's been
community
working."
will respond.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I'll just let the community respond.
Okay.
Well, and
But if I
think the
believe
point
my
about
answer would be of service to the community, then that's just a discussion.
Yeah.
Like, I'll discuss something with you all day long if it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's a service to everybody.
Well, and again, that goes back to your healthy community and having everybody chipping in, and it's
Yep.
not just you as the source of truth. You might be the one steering the conversation or whatever, or you might be the one, the catalyst that started the thing. But
Yeah.
I think that's really a smart way to be. And I think your point about boundaries is huge. I think a lot of people have a really difficult time with boundaries, especially when you're hungry for new business or you really need that couple $100 to keep the lights on. We all have a tendency to really, put ourselves out there or do work for free or whatever it is. And there's a balance of do work for free that I think a lot of people should be open to. But I think that this idea of, oh shoot, I'm losing my thought. Basically just that, I think it's important that we do set boundaries and stick to them, sort of hold down be disciplined about that, I guess is kind of the point I'm trying to make is to be disciplined about that. And I think that helps foster your community and everything else.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to get to, it was on, so you sent over a little information sheet and we asked for some information prior to doing the show. One of the things that piqued my interest was this idea of the change in your pocket theory. And I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about that, how it applies to email marketing and everything else.
I love it. So I was introduced to the change in your pocket theory in church. There's a youth pastor shared a message about love and your relationship with another person. But so just imagine any relationship, whether it's your boyfriend, your best friend, or an email subscriber, anybody you have a relationship with, you're starting out that relationship with $1 worth of change in your pocket. When you do something of service to them and ask nothing in return, you're adding some change into your pocket. When you ask them to do something, you're spending a little change in your pocket. So the change in your pocket, think of it as like the relationship currency. If you have a new email subscriber and you've just given them a gift, they've claimed it, you have that $1 worth of change in your pocket. If the next few emails you send, ask them to do something, if you ask and then ask and then ask and then ask, you are out of change, buddy.
Yeah, you're sort of chipping away at that.
Your pocket is empty. You have no relationship currency to spend. The next time you ask, they're probably going to be like, you don't care about me at all. All you want is my money. And they just hit unsubscribe.
Right. So in the context of email marketing, then maybe the model would be they've downloaded your white paper or whatever. They've downloaded your item and that's how you collected their name. Next email is, hey, you were interested in this. Here's another article I think you'd like about that. And just leave it at that. You don't even need to get into the asking at that point.
Yeah.
And at some point you've built up some equity. And like you said, you've actually fostered a relationship with this person, electronic or otherwise. And I think, like you said, you build this equity with those people and ultimately those become your community members. And those are the people who support you.
The curious thing about the pocket, though, is it's small. So some email list owners go in the opposite direction. Instead of going broke, they are like, they're building up. They feel like, oh, I've got to give and give and give and give. Only if you don't set up the expectation from the beginning that this is a give and take relationship, you can set up a list that is so used to being passive. When you do ask them to do something, they don't.
So how do you kind of combat that? What do you do? What procedures do you put in place to actually make it a give and take relationship versus take?
So keep that change in your pocket picture in your mind And imagine that when you give them something, you're earning a quarter. When you ask them to do something, you're spending a quarter. Keep $1 worth of change in your pocket. You cannot build up $10 worth of change. The pocket's too small. And you can't go broke because they'll
walking around with $10 and change in your pocket.
Right. Well, I'm just sitting here listening to this. I mean, it's a really strong metaphor for this, and I think it's a great way of thinking about that sort of relationship with your, especially with email. I think so many people, think that the whole email game is collect email addresses, bombard everybody with messages, and some percentage will reply. Yeah. But I think that having this sort of strategy, and I think what appeals to me most about it is the actually giving a crap about who you're emailing part. Yeah. Because I think so many people will go out and buy leads or, acquire email address through some less than awesome ways of doing it. And I think that, they legitimately don't care. And because they don't care, there's no incentive to be good to you or to treat you the right way. Yeah. Or to have any thought whatsoever about that change in your pocket. And so I think that that's a really smart approach.
So what are some of the things that you do in your email campaigns to get a response from the people in your list?
Well, strategically, I'd like them to click something in the email. So I don't deliver the gift. In the email, I say, here's where you come get your gift, and it's a pickup page. And then that page will invite them on into my community if they're not there already. But the next time I email them, I'll say, did you download it? Did you notice this on page 3? By the way, do you have a question? I ask them to respond to me fairly early in the relationship. I really like to say, hey, reply and tell me who you are. And I always respond to those emails. So I'm asking them to do something. I'm not necessarily asking them to buy something in those first 2 or 3 emails. Not making a paid offer, but I'm just asking them to take some kind of action. Hey, here's a new podcast. Would you share it with a friend? It's creating a 2-way relationship.
That's really smart.
And there are people who they're not comfortable asking you a question, and some people won't let you help them until they've helped you. So that's not everybody, but it's a pretty big chunk of people. There's a great book about giving and taking. I might be able to find that. I listened to it on Audible, but I know it from my years of experience at church. I was on staff at my church for 7 years. People love to be asked. They need to be asked. Like they get so much. Which is it? Serotonin. Yeah. One of the neurotransmitters that comes from being part of a community, being in a give and take relationship.
Yeah, I think it's the thing that makes social media so strong is it releases that serotonin, and it's almost a satisfaction that you get. Yeah. And I know especially, among, it seems like among the faithful, but also among business people and entrepreneurs generally, most people are pretty willing to give of themselves to help others. And so, and I think, like, to your point, they kind of get a rush or, a positive feeling from doing that.
Yeah. If they share one of my podcasts or tell somebody about something and, and I of course, I'm going to say, oh, gosh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Then a lot of times they'll come back within a week or so and say, I had a question about this, Kelly, because they feel like they've earned the privilege. Yeah. And they have, we're friends. Yeah. We're becoming friends.
Well, that's right. I mean, to them, you have a relationship. You guys are something, you might be reaching out to thousands of people, but they're just the one individual who's talking to you directly. Yeah. So I think it's important to have that. To that end, like one more thing I wanted to get to, we're starting to wind down here, is you mentioned another thing in your little bio or in your intro information that I think I might be a victim of, but I need to know for sure. And so, and that's the bright shiny object syndrome. I wondered if you could elaborate a little bit on that idea, what you mean, and how much we should have and how much we should avoid.
So if you've been involved in building a website or trying to grow a business online, you have seen shiny objects. The latest software, the latest promotional tactic, the latest, just when you feel like you get a handle on Facebook, someone says, oh my gosh, you've got to be over here on Pinterest. Oh no, you've got to be on Instagram. Oh no, did you miss Periscope? You know,
I did actually completely.
You didn't miss anything. But shiny objects are everywhere, especially in my circles where people are on different marketing coaches, mailing lists. They're being told, hey, you need to be using Leadpages, or no, you need to be using ClickFunnels, or no, you actually need to be using this tool. And people just feel like they just get so overwhelmed by the shiny objects of this new thing. And
okay. Yes, confirmed. I'm a victim of this, and I'm really
yes.
bad about it. Leadpages, especially. I wanted to do that one.
So sometimes my clients confess to me, like, I've got a bright shiny object syndrome problem, and they think that they're the only ones. And I'm like, I haven't met anybody yet who doesn't have a little of the syndrome. And the thing is that first of all, we're human. We're designed to notice new things. I mean, have you ever heard about, I think a scientist explained once, like, you're walking through the jungle and you don't notice that branch moved until it bites you? That would be a problem. We need to notice the snakes. We need to notice new things. So when something new shows up, we need to notice it. My secret is, instead of being in constant resistance to it, I just accept that it is my job to consider new things, and I actually budget time for it. I say, for me, I budget about 15% of my business time is devoted to evaluating new things.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's my problem too. And part of it's the designer in me. I always get like tricked by great user interfaces and things like that, where it's like, ooh, that's a newer, slicker, better way of doing it than me.
Yes.
And so I always get trapped by these stupid software guys. I always have a few
Yeah.
free trials going at any given moment. So, so I think you're right. You know, it does make sense to keep an eye on what's coming and that sort of thing. But I think also, you know, loyalty and sticking with things that are working sort of pays dividends as well.
Yes. Yeah. So I use Leadpages. I've used Leadpages for many years, and there's always some new page builder hitting the market. And a lot of my friends like WordPress-based page builders, which I do too. Like, I like Thrive Architect. Mm-hmm. But my opt-ins and sales pages are all in Leadpages, because until something becomes so much more awesome that it impacts and that it is worthy of a new learning curve for me and my virtual assistant,
right,
that I pay hourly for, it's going to be a heck no. I will stay with Leadpages.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Well, and I guess really the benefit of using a platform like that is being able to actually track things, right? They do a pretty good job of tracking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many good reasons to use Leadpages.
Cool. Well, so we've only got a few minutes left, but you just hit on something I'd like to pick your brain about, because I was thinking about doing it myself, and that's the idea of the virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how that's what your experience has been like doing, using a virtual assistant? And for anybody who doesn't know, basically, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times they're offshore personnel that are sort of designed to help with mundane or sort of routine tasks. You know, they can keep your email box clean. They can reach out to clients. There's a number of things they can do. But I've entertained this idea for 100 years, ever since I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, and I've never actually pulled the trigger on it. So
well, I'm always nervous of like, hey, here's my email inbox, go to town, you know, and have the typos, I want the professional look. But I don't want to pay the professional person to do it for me.
So I do not work with an overseas virtual assistant. I've tried a couple of times and been frustrated with it. I have a couple of friends who rock it, though, working with somebody in the Philippines or Turkey. But so when I got debt free and quit my day job in 2006, and that same year I hired a virtual assistant I brought her on a 10-hour monthly retainer to take over the things that could be outsourced, responding to customer service, scheduling social media, things like that. You talk about the mundane stuff, that can probably be automated.
Yeah, sure.
With the right tools.
So where did you find your assistant? Did you go to virtualassistant.com and find one that had a cool profile?
I hired my best friend.
There you go.
I grew my own, and she's actually now my online business manager.
Cool.
She's been with me all these years. But there is Tanya Sutherland at vanetworking.com. That's one of the longest standing virtual assistant organizations that I know of. And if you're looking for a virtual assistant, you can actually submit a request with her for not. I actually don't know if you actually pay a fee to do that.
Join for free.
Oh, interesting.
But you can. There are several virtual assistant organizations, and here's the dirty little secret of hiring a VA is that a lot of people think, well, I can't afford to pay somebody $30, $40 an hour to do stuff for me. But they're going to be faster than you, especially with customer service, because a customer will write and ask for something or complain about something. This is rare for me, thank goodness. But my mind goes to, well, the sales page gave you that answer. Well, this email told you that. What's the matter with you? like I get all up in my head and get ticked off. And she just goes, oh, here's the answer. It's like,
there you go.
You know, she's just so fast. She's so good at customer service.
Well, and I suppose after a few years working with the same person, you develop an understanding. She starts to learn your software, your workflow, all these things. And then, you know, can be really helpful. And I guess there's probably a little bit of growing pain or whatever at the beginning, but you know, it can be quickly overcome. And then
there's
like
a slowdown.
you have a long-term relationship with this person at this point.
Yeah.
And so now they know your business as well as you do in some way.
Yes.
So Kelly, in closing, can you tell us a little bit about your retreats? Actually kind of promo them so our listeners can join you if they want.
Yeah, the beachpreneurs. So this is the 6th year we've been doing them. Nicole Dean and I get together and we host retreats on Pensacola Beach. We have a great big beach house. This is for women only. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's all right.
But we invite about a dozen women to come hang out with us at the beach for 3 days, and we mastermind together. We set goals, we crush roadblocks, we set plans, and we soak up the sunshine and just really enjoy each other's company. So
a place they can go to register and sign up, or do you have
beachpreneurs.com? Beachpreneurs.com. We also have
we'll also share the link on the website here.
Yeah. We also have the beach camp, which is our annual hotel conference. That's on Daytona Beach in April.
Oh, I was getting the s'mores ready. You know, get out the marshmallows and graham crackers.
Different kind of camp, much warmer camp. So, hey, so I guess where can we send people to find more about you and your business and join your community?
Well, lovepeopleMakeMoney.com is my website, and there is a link to the Facebook community right there on the site. Love to have more people come and join us.
That's awesome. So, and then they can also find Kelly McCausey on the socials at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram /Kelly McCausey. Yes. So that is probably the quickest and easiest way to get a hold of her. Yeah. So Kelly, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on the show and spending this hour with us. God, it went really fast.
I know.
I could keep digging on this virtual assistant stuff. I'm really so we might have to continue this conversation offline. But we're really grateful for your time. Any parting shots? Anything else you'd like to say before we get out of here?
Oh, just that you really can love people and make money. Sink your roots deep into a community of people you love, meet their needs, and profits will show up.
Excellent. Awesome. I think that's an awesome thing to go out on. Thanks so much, Kelly. We really appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
Okay. Hold on. Don't.